So I had this kind of weird thought the other day, and I'm pretty sure it's probably not going to resonate with a lot of people out there. Not that anybody really watches these anyways, but whatever, fuck it. I'll say it anyways, especially since, me getting an audience or people agreeing with me on my videos is incredibly secondary to the point of these videos. I'm mostly doing it just for myself, just to have a habit of posting some shit with semi-regularity online. I don't know, maybe it's like a future video diary or something to look back on. And on the off chance, hopefully, maybe some people out there might also resonate with what I'm saying. But anyways, that's besides the point. To get to the point, the idea, the sort of, not idea, the thought I had the other day was sort of correlated with like this whole notion that people in general feel they not only desire happiness, but they also kind of feel entitled to it. Like, there's always this kind of notion of the universe, like, has happiness in waiting for you, and it's just a matter of just, like, going through the necessary steps and that you'll one day acquire it. Or if not even happiness, just, like, contentment or purpose. Like, it's just kind of waiting for you out there. Like, we all have, like, a destiny, and that, like, it's just a matter of finding the right circumstances or going through the right steps and acquiring that. Anyways, I just think it's fucking weird. First of all, that people have that notion constantly while totally denying the fact that there's tons of people in the world, people who are completely deserving, like good people or even just decent people who just regularly never fucking find happiness or satisfaction or purpose in life, or just are deprived of the chance to even do so in the first place. Like, there's just people who fucking just die when they're a kid. That's a classic example. Or people who just go through an entire life and just never find it. And they just die anyways. And that's also like people like who didn't do it for lack of trying. People who put in the work, who really tried to like find something, some satisfying, reason for existing beyond just the basic humdrum of daily life. And they just never did. They just never did because the universe was just like, nope. Or they just never found anything satisfying personally because they're just not wired to find something satisfying, or they just didn't get lucky enough. Anyways, beyond that though, that's one thing that I find kind of weird, that people just keep kind of, in my opinion, illogically clinging to the notion that it's the hope, basically, the hope that one day they will find happiness, purpose, whatever the fuck in life, even though all the empirical evidence pretty much indicates that if you get that, it's just like, it's the same logic as basically like thinking you're entitled to, maybe not like the jackpot, but like, a lower level jackpot. Like, it's the same sort of illogic notion that like a gambler has when they approach like a poker table, that they think that, they're entitled to winning big. Even though the vast majority of people don't, frankly, win big. Some people do, but a lot of people don't, because that really is what life is. It's just a fucking poker table. But beyond just that, that's like, I don't even think that's not even a particularly original notion. It's not. A lot of other cynics like myself have pointed that out. But another thing that I find really kind of weird about that is how much people sort of self-aggrandize being like a human. That like, I as a human am entitled to like satisfaction, purpose, happiness in life, what have you. And a lot of times though, they don't really extend that to like other creatures on this planet. It's like, no, the humans are the ones who deserve to have this. The other ones just like, maybe people will extend that to like their pets. I would say so. If they're a good pet owner, they'll extend that notion to them. But, generally speaking, unless somebody's like a really, an animal rights advocate, they probably won't give a shit about other living organisms and their, right to have happiness and maybe not a purpose, because I don't know, I'm making an assumption here. I don't think, generally speaking, animals have a desire for some deeper purpose in life. They pretty much just want to live and be comfortable. I think. At least that's what the empirical evidence seems to indicate. So let's just say happiness, contentment, comfort, whatever the fuck. Like a good life. Let's just keep it at that. And I was thinking how ridiculous that is. It's like, why not? Why can't other animals on this planet, other living creatures, be just as entitled to, a good life as we are? As much as that's, practical, essentially. And, again, this is also not a very unpopular notion, amongst people who are like-minded to me, amongst, like, people who are at least somewhat in favor of animal rights and stuff. That's not really an unpopular notion. They would agree with me. They'd be like, yeah, we shouldn't be fucking, factory farming animals, killing them, da-da-da-da-da, all that shit, hunting them, using them for leather coats, whatever the fuck. You get my point. The thing is, I feel like a lot of times even those people still have a point where they'll kind of stop and they'll be like, yeah, the vast majority of living creatures deserve to have some contentment. But there's one category of living creature that is like almost never granted that sort of, how would I say that benefit of the doubt? I don't know if that's the right word. That sort of consideration. There we go. By almost anybody, even animal rights advocates. And that is the poor, tiny mosquito. Yes. Pretty much anybody out there, regardless of, what walk of life they're in. Like I said, you can be an avid trophy hunter of big game, or you can be like the most vehement vegan animal rights advocate, ultra militant vegan ever. Generally speaking, nobody likes mosquitoes. Like I said, maybe the most extremely militant vegan would have consideration of mosquitoes. And I guess I'm going to be taking that stance today because I think it is kind of, not saying that I'm like an ultra militant super vegan, even though I am trying to be vegetarian vegan. But I guess I'm going to be taking the most radical stance on that. And I'm wondering, basically, to get to my point, I'm just flubbing around this entire video. I really was wondering, why is it that it's a commonly held notion that not only are mosquitoes not entitled to a comfortable life or happiness, that actually quite the opposite. That mosquitoes are like almost universally considered just totally low, irredeemable scumbags of this planet. That I've heard, this might not be true, but I think I've generally heard even those who are like dedicated to the study of mosquitoes are primarily studying them just to figure out a way to wipe them out, fundamentally. Like a lot of times mosquito scientists are just trying to figure out a way to lower their population levels by like making them infertile and stuff like that, or possibly even just eradicating them entirely. And the obvious answer right off the bat would be like, well, mosquitoes are blood-sucking fucking parasites. Well, not exactly parasites, but blood-sucking fucking annoying ass assholes at best. And at worst, they spread malaria, which is one of the worst diseases known to mankind. And just for those reasons alone, fuck mosquitoes. They deserve to all be wiped out and die. And the vitriol people have for that doesn't go beyond, it goes beyond just practical notions. It goes beyond just yes, this is a practical consideration of why we should wipe out mosquitoes. People fucking hate mosquitoes. They attribute they almost anthropomorphize them as villains. They're like fucking mosquitoes. They're just evil. They're like demons from hell or something like that. Whereas I, and you can call me a fucking stoner-brained idiot for saying this. Not that I smoke weed anymore, but maybe I'm having latent weed effects. Still addling my fucked up, drug-addled brain or whatever the hell. But I've been thinking, I think we should be a bit more charitable to mosquitoes. Because I think our generally universal hatred of mosquitoes, to the extent we have it, is largely projection. I think the level with which we just condemn the existence of mosquitoes down to their very core, we just view them as irredeemable monsters. They pretty much don't do anything that's bad that we ourselves are not guilty of, and then some. And if anything, I think we're even more guilty, not just because of how we're more destructive than mosquitoes, but also because we don't have the excuse of just being, at least from the surface, just unintelligent bugs. We have self-awareness that, and again, I'm making an assumption here, maybe mosquitoes are self-aware, maybe they realize they're being assholes. But as far as I can tell, they're not aware. And even if they were, mosquitoes are only doing what they absolutely have to do to survive. A mosquito would die and they'd get wiped out if they didn't go around sucking blood out of creatures. They need to do it. It's how they're designed. They don't have another option. It's how they fucking live. They're not going around intentionally spreading malaria and other fucking West Nile virus and other horrible diseases. They don't even know what malaria is. Maybe they do, but again, stupid. I'm gonna stop saying that fucking caveat. Okay, 99.9% chance mosquitoes don't know what the fuck malaria is. They're just living their life, going around sucking blood. And if it wasn't for malaria, they'd be just irritating. There'd be far more vicious predators out there that should be much more concerned about than mosquitoes. You know what I'm saying? Mosquitoes just be like, oh, that's fucking irritating. It just give my skin a bump, and it's just annoying and itchy for a while. It's well, at least it's better than being attacked by a bear. But no, yeah, it's the disease aspect, which is again not their fault. So the reason I'm bringing all this up is, and why I'm saying it's just weird to me that humans want to project that notion of evilness onto mosquitoes while just like thinking that they themselves are like above that stuff is because basically every human on Earth, aside from the very, very small people who like live off the grid in a super, super fucking ultra, considerate, sustainable manner, which is almost nobody. Pretty much everybody's part of some greater society on Earth. Just by virtue of doing that, you yourself are part of a bigger problem than like mosquitoes have ever been. Okay? Like you just are. I mean, I am too. It's the rhetorical you. It's the general you. I am too. Like, I was just thinking, every time I take out the trash, there's like a bit of just like, or even when I just throw something away, there's like a pang of just disgust in my body where I'm just like, ugh, God, trash. Just generating more trash. That's just what I'm doing as a fucking human. Ugh. All this trash. I just keep making more and more trash. Yeah, I make that trash. I put it in my trash bin. I take it out to the dumpster eventually when it's all filled up, and then I put it in the dumpster, and then eventually it disappears, but it doesn't go into thin air. No, it goes to a fucking landfill. I'm contributing to the horrible pollution on this earth. Or like, for instance, I don't drive anymore because I live in London, but back when I lived in Los Angeles, I used to drive a car. There you go, contributing to the degradation of the ozone layer. Tax dollars. I have to pay my taxes. That reminds me. I've been putting it off and procrastinating because it's fucking lame. I hate paying taxes. But who the fuck likes paying taxes? I bet there's some weirdos who like to pay taxes. But there you go. I have to pay my fucking taxes. Some of it goes to good stuff, hypothetically. But there's a good chunk of it that goes to the military, which is, funding one of the most disgusting and horrific and irredeemable aspects. Probably actually, no, the most disgusting and irredeemable aspect of humanity by far. There is no excuse for the fact that we wage war on each other. I don't think no, there isn't. Just fuck war. War is disgusting. I know, I'm so edgy with my crazy opinion. Fuck war. But apparently it is an edgy opinion because people still really like to engage in war for some fucking retarded reason. Sorry if I use the R slur. I didn't mean it like in a mean way. I just said it like it's stupid. Okay, I've never used it in a degrading way to somebody with a mental health condition. Sorry, I'm a 90s kid. I apologize. Okay, whatever. Moving on. And then I apologize again if that was too PC for me to apologize. I'm apologizing to everybody. Please don't judge me too much. It's fucking stupid. I'll just say that. Okay, it's fucking stupid. War's dumb as shit. Anyways, so, but like, there you go. Trash. Gas production. Just, fucking carbon footprint in general. Just that. That, coupled with my taxes going to the military, which, is contributing to warfare, which is also, actually beyond just how horrible it is to our fellow humans, is a massive fucking carbon footprint as well. Like, huge. Like, people don't really talk that much about how, like, ecologically devastating war is. They do sometimes, but they don't. That's not really the focus. It's always the focus on the loss of life, because, of course it is, because humans are, again, human-centric for the most part. They're always focusing on the impact of humans upon other humans, first and foremost, rather than, their surroundings. Surroundings are secondary for most humans. But yeah, like war is fucking horrible for the environment. It fucking devastates the hell out of ecologies, like, on every level. It, like, destroys fucking soil and plants and murders tons of animals and stuff like that. Tons of pets get displaced. That's like a common thing. I'm sure people have seen that, where there's like, I saw it with like Ukraine. There was like a fund, like a charity for like homeless pets and stuff to try and get them sheltered and stuff like that. So yeah, war is just fucking, it's horrible to everything. And so there you go. Just that. Just our horrible, disgusting, collective, vile fucking, ecologically devastating carbon footprint on this planet is our malaria as humankind. And I would say that is collectively worse than malaria is, actually. And by quite a bit, too. And this isn't to say that malaria isn't horrible. Malaria is fucking horrible. I definitely would be completely in favor with malaria being wiped the fuck out tomorrow. I just think it's interesting that people, like, fuck malaria. I'm not going to fucking say, like, malaria has a right to exist either. Malaria is fucking, it's a bacteria, which as far as we can tell, bacteria is not sentient, really. Maybe I'm being arrogant here in that assumption, who knows. But, mosquitoes are sentient. They have brains. They are conscious. They're living organisms with sentience, but as far as we can tell, malaria does not have a sentience. It's just kind of a reactive organism. So fuck malaria. I'm fine with that getting wiped out. Anyways, my point is, it's just interesting to me that people will just so get on their high horse about just like, fuck mosquitoes, they should get extinct, they should get wiped out, but then are just like fine with the human race continuing, even though we are guilty of, like, collectively, of a far bigger crime than just malaria in our collective existence. Like, we don't, like, the people say, like, a lot of times, you know, I've heard that too, that mosquitoes on top of producing malaria don't contribute anything to the ecosystem. It's like, do we fucking contribute anything to the ecosystem? Fuck no, we don't. We're basically just a cancer on this planet. Sorry, we are. You know, you can call me just like a misanthrope, edgelord, whatever the fuck, but I don't give a fuck. It's true. We're a cancer on this planet. Sorry, you know, and I'm part of that cancer. Basically, the only thing I can say is redeeming about humans is we're interesting. We're definitely the most interesting animal on this planet. There's no fucking denying that. We are. You know, nature can be interesting, but humans are definitely the most interesting out of all the animals on this earth. And if you say otherwise, I think you're just full of it. I'm sorry, because most other animals follow a pretty fucking similar paradigm. Humans are very unique from other animals. So I'll say that, you know, if you want humans to keep existing, you can argue, yeah, we should keep existing because we're the most interesting thing on this fucking planet. But, you know, that's like the only argument I'll really accept, because anybody saying anything else, we're like, oh, but, you know, humanity as a whole, it's kind of flawed. It's got some good and some bad. It's like, nah, maybe to one another. But, I mean, even animals who are like even humans who are animal rights advocates are really just trying to neutralize the negative aspect of humanity, rather than like being a benefit to anything. Like, the biggest benefit that animals could have is if humans just went fucking extinct. You know, we are the mosquitoes to every other fucking animal on this planet, pretty much. You know, like, malaria mostly affects, as far as I know, just humans, but humans affect like every animal. We're way fucking worse than just mosquitoes spewing malaria and West Nile virus everywhere. So basically, to get to the point of this entire video, it's just interesting to me that, like, even though I would consider myself to be a member of a species that is worse than mosquitoes, I still find myself surrounded by people who think that, like, yes, I'm entitled to not only exist, but I'm entitled to also exist and be happy. And here's the thing. As miserable as I fucking am, as cynical as I am about my own species, about my future, about me ever actually finding any notion of proper satisfaction or happiness in the shit show of fucking existence, I'm still looking for it. But it's not because I think I'm a good person. It's not because I think I deserve it on virtue of my humanity. You know, like, because I am of the superior genetic code that has created a human, and therefore I'm more entitled to happiness than any other animal on this earth, especially mosquitoes. Like, no, I don't think that. It's just because finding hope, purpose, reason to exist is basically survival, fundamentally, at the end of the day. You know, it's psychological survival. If you're existing with no fucking purpose, as a human at least, your existence is you're kind of, I mean, they call it dying inside for a reason, because you kind of are. You know, if you don't have that, you're missing a key component of existence, and you're mentally starving to death, basically. So that's why I'm doing it. But again, I'm not doing it because of some reason that I'm like, you know, the cosmos wants me to be happy, and I just need to find it. It's like, nah, dude, no. I'm doing it because I want to fucking mentally survive. You know, I fucking do. That's the thing. And again, I don't think I'm a good person. I really don't. I don't think pretty much almost anybody's a good person, with very few exceptions of people out there. Like, and I'll go the other extreme too. I don't think most people are evil either. You know, a lot of people like to throw out the word evil very quickly, and then they also want to throw out the word good very quickly. I don't think that applies to the vast majority of people. I think the vast majority of people are just existing. A lot of them on autoplay, and a lot of them, you know, have decent enough intentions, but then that's offset by the fact that a lot of times, you know, humans are also just very selfish. So it's kind of balanced out by, like, I think people want to be decent, but they also want to survive and have their own self-interest at heart. And this is kind of coupled into the whole psychological cope strategy, is I think people don't want to just accept that, like, they don't deserve happiness on virtue of their humanity. They just think they deserve happiness because they want happiness. You know, they just want happiness like they want a fucking warm meal. It's survival. I get it. You know, and I think that's the most honest way to fucking take it. It's like, yeah, I just want to be happy because I want to fucking not starve to death. Like in the same mentality is what I'm trying to say. You know, I don't want to mentally starve to death. Therefore, I want happiness. Just like, okay, I'm speaking in fucking circles here. So basically, to make the point of this video, I feel like this is just for me. If I'm going to be intellectually honest here, if I think I'm entitled to happiness, then I have to naturally say mosquitoes are just as entitled to happiness as I am. You can say that logic's fucking stupid as hell. You can say I'm a freaking, goo-goo brained, dumb fuck, whatever. Say whatever you want. I don't give a shit. That's my opinion, and I'm sticking to it, and I think it just makes sense to me. The next time I see a mosquito, and the mosquito's like trying to inject my blood, I'm not going to go with my impulse of smushing them and be like, you know what, buddy? You and I are not so different. I can't hate. Go ahead. Enjoy that blood. Especially since, I live in London. The mosquitoes here are completely benign. It's like, what? You're going to give me a little itchy sore? It's like, I don't give a fuck. If I was in Africa or, some other country where they have really, I don't know where West Nile virus is. I guess it's also Africa. But wherever else, I know there's, other places in the world that have, deadly mosquitoes. But if I was somewhere there, I probably would smush the mosquito. But it wouldn't be because, oh, fuck that mosquito. It would be just well, I don't want to get fucking malaria. I still want to survive at the end of the day. But I can make a compromise and be like, well, if the mosquito survival is only going to cost me a bit of itchy bump on my skin, that's a small price to pay. I can tolerate that. I think it's only fair. So yeah, mosquitoes are entitled to happiness too, buddy. If you think you're entitled to happiness in this life, I think you only have to accept that every other living organism that has a sentience is entitled to happiness as well. Fuck me. Who the hell knows? Maybe malaria is sentient. Maybe it is self-aware. Maybe it's just a lower self-awareness, but it's still just as self-aware and just as clinging to life as we are, in the same cognitive notion. And every time it gets killed, it feels just as much pain as a human would feel being killed. I'm being fucking ridiculous right now. I know that now I'm being ridiculous. I agree with that. But I don't think it's too crazy to extend that to mosquitoes because, like I said, they have a brain. I don't think mosquitoes feel particularly good when they get fucking smushed. I'm sure that they probably feel some degree of fear or terror. Especially if they get smushed and they don't get smushed completely immediately, they're going to die in pain, really a lot of pain when they're half fucking smushed and stuff. So, sure, they're dumb as hell. I don't have any real connection to them. I can't relate to them at all. And that's another thing, too. It isn't just that humans want humans to keep existing because of selfishness, but it's also because, and because humans are interesting, but it's also because, humans are the most relatable creatures on this planet to other humans. So that's the thing. I don't relate to a mosquito. But whatever, goddamn, this thing is all over the place. So my point is, though, I feel bad. A mosquito definitely feels pain and agony when they die. I don't think that that's really a crazy notion to put out there. I know a lot of people like to cope and say, but they're so stupid they can't. It's I don't think it takes that much intelligence to feel fear and pain, dude. I think that's a pretty basic goddamn, machination. Okay, I'm just going to say this last point, then I'm going to be done here. I think another reason also why people have, such a hard time empathizing with mosquitoes, and for that matter, bugs in general. People feel more empathy, generally speaking, for animals, even though they fucking eat them like crazy and hunt them like crazy. But generally speaking, a lot of people, even meat eaters, when they see how animals are treated when they're prepping their food with them, will feel at least some degree of shit. That's why they don't want to see that a lot of times. They don't want to see slaughterhouse footage. But if you were to see the same slaughterhouse footage with bugs instead, people would, generally speaking, have a much less. Generally, they'd have much less of a empathetic reaction to them because bugs are just not as relatable. They're just kind of alien-like. That being said, and this is where I'm going to really get ridiculous, I just wonder how people would react to mosquitoes if they functioned basically the same, but they all just look like a winged version of Margot Robbie. Yeah, I'm going to sound, this is stupid as fuck, but I'm just trying to make a point here that it's just the aesthetics that make mosquitoes so unlikable to people beyond just their function. It's the fact that they just aren't aesthetically pleasing. Like if mosquitoes were instead just little mini pixies that look like Margot Robbie or some fashion model, and they just kind of bite you and suck your blood, but they, under a microscope, they look like these hot ass, super amazing models and movie stars. This is such a ridiculous notion, I know. But I think people would feel a bit more guilty when they smush them. In fact, I bet there'd be probably some people out there Some especially horny guys, or I guess certain horny women too, who would probably be like trying to think of a way like, how can I shrink myself down to size so I can copulate with a mosquito Margot Robbie. Because that's how fucking shallow they are. I know there'd be some people out there trying to fuck mosquitoes if they look like Margot Robbie. 100% they would. They'd probably just put some like protective gear over the most of their body so they wouldn't get blood sucked by them. But yeah, if they like physically just look like a miniature version of them, they'd 100% go for that. That's all they would need. They just need the aesthetics of a body of Margot Robbie. Even if they behave like a blood-sucking insect, otherwise that'd be enough for them. I'm right. Okay, this sounds stupid as shit, but is it wrong? Dude, people fuck sex dolls, Wow, this video just really went in a weird direction. So yeah, I think that's it. That's my point. Show some understanding to your fellow mosquito, because you're not any better than them. I'm not any better than them. You're not any better than them. And if you think otherwise, you're just kidding yourself, buddy. And I'm right. I'm right, because I'm always right. Well, at least I think I'm always right. Of course I think I'm always right. Otherwise, why would I say the stuff that I say if I didn't think that I was right? I'm always right until I've been proven wrong, but then I just reassess myself and then come with a new paradigm with which I think I'm always right after some adjustments. Did that make any sense? I don't know. Whatever. That's that. Thanks for watching, and feel free to call me a fucking idiot in the comments. I welcome it. I hope I got a reaction out of you, even if it was just to call me a dumbass, or maybe you actually agreed with me. I just hope I didn't get a neutral reaction out of you. I hope you didn't watch this video and just think nothing of it. Just kind of went through it just stone-faced, unemotional, and just reached the conclusion and are just like, I have no opinion on this whatsoever. I will move on with my day and forget about this video immediately. I hope that that's not the response I got. So that's that. All right. Take care.